You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Of the initial rankings was, what was it? I think 3 Big 12 teams there represented before you get to an ACC representative. So point being, there's maybe some thought that, hey, there's a little more to eat here from a Big 12 perspective in the playoffs than maybe coming into it, just in the form of an at-large bid. So when thinking about that second slot or maybe what it could look like in a Big 12 title game, yada, 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 you're building resumes right now. And I'm wondering if you're noticing that the Big 12 has some really interesting games set up down the stretch, including the one that we just saw Saturday and one you make reference to with BYU and Cincinnati. And I've seen some things written elsewhere about how in some ways the schedule has just not allowed itself in other leagues to present these matchups. You've got some of the top teams dodging one another. I mean, I think Indiana's combined opponent record in the Big Ten is like a 3-20 something mark. I mean, it'd blow your mind. It blew my mind when I saw it. But this has got to benefit the Big 12 a little bit to have some of these games between some of those near the top of the league standings. And you could probably make the other argument that, hey, you're kind of eating up or beating up on one another, obviously. But from a television and or marketing standpoint, I think there's some things to be gained with these types of games and being in that type of spotlight where you have, I'm glad we've got a Cincinnati and BYU encounter, coming up.
I agree. Yeah, ideally, and that's the problem with these bloated leagues being at what they are. There's just going to be some matchups that you miss or the way it, and nobody knows it at the time when you set up the schedule matrix a few years ago. What you're looking at, you're trying to be fair. You're trying to hey, it's important for us to protect some natural rivalries, but it's also important for everybody to see everybody in the league over a 2 or 3 year, 4 year span or whatever it is. And you have to travel to a spot, they have to travel to you, all that stuff. But I do think there's probably a benefit because as you look at the standings here, Cincinnati is the only team that that you haven't. I mean, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams that either have 1 or 2 losses behind you. And you will have wins over 1, 2, 3 of them. They're lost to Arizona State, and then there's Cincinnati, who you don't play. So you've largely seen the meat of what the league has to offer. And we knew the Utah game was going to be big at the time. It turned out to be, and it's turning out to be. We knew that the BYU game was, based on getting to this point, was going to be a massive one. Don't think any of us thought that the win over Houston would in some ways be paying dividends still, but they're 8-2. They're going to be 8-4 at worst. They've got games against Baylor and TCU left, and then there's Arizona State there that is just won at Iowa State. It's coming off of a bye week, and they've don't know the situation with Sam Leavitt and Jordan Tyson, obviously. But I do think that I think too that because you mentioned in the CFP conversation. You could have done some damage to the thought that, because I don't want to live this way, but this is the reality. Because of your 22-point result over BYU, you really could have done some damage to the Big 12's hopes of getting multiple teams in. The one scenario that remains that would best suit the way we have it laid out in front of us right now with what we know with the CFP current rankings is BYU and Texas Tech playing in a rematch and BYU winning it, and then you would, in fact, potentially be an at-large berth. I'd just as soon get to Arlington and win it and hold up that conference championship trophy.
Boy, my Big 12 interests go out the window real fast when you bring up that scenario. The hell with the league interest. Let's get the Red Raiders in.
I mean, I know you were taught to share as a kid, but I would get a sense that Joey McGuire was like, "No, that's my trophy, man. I'm not sharing. No, I'm not. I don't want to share my toys." But that may be what you're staring at, because the lopsided loss hurts Utah as well, because I don't understand it, and I'm just not even going to try to comprehend it because it doesn't really matter. It's there, and so I'm going to bring it up and fall into that trap. But this FPI thing that ESPN does, I mean, they might as well just give Utah the Big 12 trophy now. They can be Big 12 FPI champs. I don't know what that means or whatever, but they're ranked ahead of Texas Tech and BYU, even though Utah lost to both teams. I don't really know if I grasp it. Like, what are we even doing? But because you have head-to-head losses against Texas Tech and BYU for Utah, and the Texas Tech win in Salt Lake City was lopsided. People can dispute that all they want, but it was a 24-point margin. It just was. Yes, it was a closely contested game until about 7 or 8 minutes to go, and then the stands emptied out. I was there. I saw it. If it was a close game, people would have stayed to the end. They didn't. The BYU game. So these margins, I don't know, and maybe we'll get some context from the committee on kind of it's not that big of a deal and all that. But that's what maybe Brett Yormark's fear could be, is that because of the way these games have played out, it could affect it from that standpoint. But that's everybody else's problem. We're just kind of having a conversation, and Texas Tech just needs to win their next 2. You will be in Arlington, Texas, and I think that more than likely you're playing either BYU or Cincinnati, unless they falter in another game that we're not expecting, and Utah backs their way in, or I don't know. But again, they don't own some tiebreakers there as well, so it is interesting.
Before we get out of here, Chris, we've got a senior day experience coming up next Saturday afternoon from Jones Stadium against Not Central Florida. Scott Frost, you reminded me, back in the mix. I think I had actually forgotten about that, trying to rekindle some former glory. But I think also from a senior day perspective, this is maybe the first one in a little while where we haven't had like COVID eligibility impact. I think we still had maybe some of that in the mix, but we're also still going to have some like decisions possibly made. So will we see some guys walking that may possibly still be back in a Tech uniform next year? First, today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly feel the call of the stadium. That's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. And with the money you save on tickets, you can then splurge on foods, drinks, gear, and more. Gametime makes it all possible. And best of all, Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get the first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. And if you're like me, you get tired of endless scrolling trying to find the best deal, and that's why Gametime's Zone Deals is the go-to move, since it automatically picks the best seats in your section for you at the best price. And as always, you can get a view from your seat right there in the app, so before you buy, you know exactly what you're going to see. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use our code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked on College, for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets.
This is going to give me a headache. So what's going to happen is Joey will encourage all parties. If you even think there's a chance you won't be back, even if we are expecting you back and all that, do it. It doesn't, it doesn't really matter. But I want you to go through this. I want you to have this. I want you to be a part of this. Just in case. And so they'll always err on that side of it. But yeah, I think that there could be plenty that go through it and that you could have back. But because there's a couple things there that there's NFL draft stuff to consider. There is the 5 for 5 that I think will be ruled on in December that could bring some folks back in the equation, namely Reggie Virgil, Skylar Go Howard. I think Cole Wisniewski actually could get a year back. And again, is this what they want? Is this what's best for them?
Yes.
Yes.
Are you asking me?
No, not you. I'm saying
yes,
they've got to make those decisions. And all those things. And I don't probably have the full context of all these things, but it will certainly be Baron Morton's last time in a regular season game. It certainly will be Jacob Rodriguez's last time. And there will be some players that go through this thing that, I mean, have put together a meaningful career here that, again, so meaningful that maybe this isn't their last home game. You just don't know. That's kind of it's a different conversation to have, because in previous eras, one, they didn't really have this 12-team playoff, and two, you weren't playing games, like games plural, or potentially in late December or January or whatever. So you just don't know what all is in store for you. But this will be a big one, and it's your last time to potentially say goodbye to some of these dudes in your own home stadium. And I just want to show up to see more pyro and red smoke, man. I'm here for it. I mean, I stripe it out, solid it out. I just, and the weather's supposed to be great again. I think, like, shockingly, maybe in the 70s as I've looked at it. I mean, it's just crazy that we're getting this hand dealt to us from a weather standpoint, but we deserve it. Damn it. After all the rain and forecasts from earlier that screwed up all the deals. So yeah, that we're getting paid back by Mother Nature with some just unbelievably nice days here in November at home when it could be 30 degrees or whatever. But no. We're getting that nice sunny 70 degrees, some San Diego Chamber of Commerce type weather for sure.
Man, it was a beautiful scene at the Jones on Saturday, too, I'll say the least. And I know it will be again coming up this Saturday. And I would like to just offer up, in case anybody was wondering out there, among those, like some of those names you mentioned who have decisions to make and others, if you would like to seek my thoughts on what you should do or what would be best for you, I'll be happy to tell you, mostly as a Tech fan, but I'll also consider some of those personal interests as well, I guess. But I'm just saying, sign me up with the names you're saying so far. But
you're talking about
like SGH. You threw a Wisniewski in there. I mean,
and we'll see what the list looks like. But there's a lot to be determined. Like this, they're already meeting about it. I mean, Joey said on his coach's show the other night, it's like, I mean, on the air, like, this is a crazy world we're living in right now. I got one of the biggest games I've ever coached in and all that. I got game day here. I'm going to be on these national radio shows. And here today I'm meeting with my staff about the portal coming up and everything like that. So they're well ahead of trying to figure out what it all looks like. But announcements of recommitting to come back, announcements that they're going to leave, or like players that are on your team that you may not have a spot for or not getting it done, leaving, and then your whole portal edition. I mean, there's just a lot to determine coming up in the coming weeks and months, and it's all kind of the groundwork being laid now, and NFL draft entries. I mean, so it's just there's a lot going on. But before we get out of here, too, I want to mention another.